guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Qubekani.
And I'm Jade.
So we're recently qualified doctors. We finished medical school this year. We started work as junior doctors on Wednesday, 7th of August.
Yeah, a date that will be firmly in my head for a long time.
Apparently people call it Black Wednesday, so
yeah.
you can make of that what you will. So today in this video we're just going to talk about our first day as doctors, how we found it and how we felt.
So I'll start us off. So before starting work in the morning, we were lucky that obviously now before you start working as a foundation year 1 doctor, you have the preparing for professional practice, I think the week's called.
Yeah.
PFPP. And essentially in this week you're shadowing the doctor that you're about to take over their job, and you also get some trust dependent teaching to welcome you to the hospital. So we're very fortunate in that respect that, you know, we'd already been on the wards we were going to be working on, we'd already seen what we were going to be doing. But regardless of that, I was very, very nervous.
I was so scared. It was really nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it just feels very different. Like, I remember leaving the ward on the Tuesday when I was still technically... I was a doctor because I've qualified, but I wasn't working as a doctor yet.
I felt like being a medical student, like shadowing the junior doctor you're with.
Versus then the next day coming in, like,
that person was gone. It was just you.
Yeah, you were the doctor. So I was very nerve-wracking. But I think during that week before we started, I had moments where I was like, yeah, I feel totally fine. Like, I can do this. It's going to be, you know what I mean? Like, this is what I've worked for. And then you would flip back into,
oh no.
Oh no. It was a very mixed emotions time. But yeah, very nervous before I started. A
lot of it was like fear of the unknown, because you know what it's like being a medical student, sort of seeing people do it. Yeah. But then when you're the
actually
guy,
the
the
doctor,
questions are coming to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, I think that was what I was most nervous for.
Yeah.
Was that, you know, I'd been on, I don't even know how many ward rounds. Like, I'd helped with jobs, I'd done a lot of the tasks that would be expected, obviously, under supervision. Yeah. But it was the bits in between when someone will come to you and be, oh, doctor, this has happened, or oh, could you prescribe this? And that I found that really nerve-wracking, because it's just the unknown. That was how I felt. Plus,
it's the responsibility, because this time they say, doctor, can you do this? And then you actually have to do it. And then all the responsibility lies with you. Yeah. You've done it. So, yeah, that was also quite nerve-wracking before we started.
Yeah. No, so that was kind of how I felt before. Yeah. So on to actually starting work. So we both started on normal working days. Yeah. And what this means is that our shift was an 8:30 till 5 p.m. Shift. So when I first arrived on the ward, obviously all the team changes over. So it was a completely different team of doctors who were going to be working on the ward. And I just remember being so nervous meeting the F2 and core medical trainees. But I knew as soon as I met them, it was like a really nice team, and I was automatically calmed because of that. Yeah. So
mine was similar. So I was, as you said, on the normal working day. When you just walk on the ward that morning, I don't know. Yeah. there's this feeling about it. It's difficult to explain. But I met a few doctors who are going to be working on my ward as well. There was another F1 as well on my ward, which was quite nice because it's someone I'd known from medical school. Yeah. So I felt comforted about that. So I have a buddy, someone I can go to if I'm stuck, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's it. There is another F1 on my ward as well. But on the day that we started, she started on a different type of shift. So she was doing the medical assessment unit, which is essentially the acute medicine for patients who are medical after they've been through A&E. So she wasn't there on the day when we first started. We'd very much been together for the week before that, so it felt very real, her not being there. That morning, I joined one of the consultants and we did a ward round. So I was writing in the clinical notes and essentially making a jobs list as I went along. Yeah. So this was very much, you know, what I was used to. Yeah. I relaxed into it a lot more while doing that. But yeah, so I was just joining a consultant for the ward round.
Yeah, when I started, there was a bit of a question whether the consultants were going to do a ward round. So everyone was a bit sort of tense because we didn't know any of the patients. But both consultants, so our ward is divided into 2. So the 2 consultants at any given time covering half of the ward. So they both came and they did ward rounds, which is really nice because then you get to know the patients and they can tell you the current plans and the future plans. Yeah. So I was writing in the notes, creating a job list, which is probably the most important thing to do as an F1, to keep an updated jobs list. Yeah. Because then you can work through it throughout the day and you can see what you've done, what you're waiting on, and what needs to be done or what can be done the next day.
That's most of the morning there. Yeah. Then we get together as a team, so there'll be all the doctors, nurses, occupational therapists, physiotherapists, the ward manager. Everyone gets together for something called board round, where essentially we discuss the management plans of everyone. We make sure we have the input from every team that we need. So we have that towards the end of the morning, and then, as I said before, I've met a really lovely team of doctors on my ward, and one in particular I worked with as a student, and he's always been lovely, to be honest, but he was really nice and just said, we need to have lunch, let's go now, let's take a break, and we'll come back and we'll rattle through the jobs this afternoon. So I think unless there's something really urgent, it is important, we need to look after ourselves and each other.
So after our board round, because we had some patients who were outliers, so in different wards, a few of the more senior doctors had to go and see those patients. So at one point it was 2 F1s of the ward. I think at that point that's when everything becomes really real, because if, say, a nurse has got a query about a prescription, they come to you. If they have a question about a patient they think is got using high, they come to you. So that's just an early mark of someone who's unwell. So we had a few of those. Actually, I think we had a few prescription related queries, and they're fine. You can prescribe paracetamol, right? It's 1 gram 4 times a day. But when you're confronted with that on your first day, you're like, I'll check the BNF. Yeah,
but I don't even think that's a bad thing. I think I've checked the BNF. Anything I prescribe for the first, second, sometimes even third time, I check the BNF just to make sure. Simply because that's how you learn. You don't learn by someone being like, oh, it's this X times at whatever time. I need to know in my head that I've seen it, I know it. Yeah. And I know it wasn't necessarily with paracetamol, but but no, it's true. I think everyone has that same moment. I spoke to one doctor who said that on their first day as working, they had to prescribe paracetamol, and it took them 35 minutes to confidently hand the prescription back. And they said that at that point they had to then think, if this is it, I've worked for 5 years, I need to have more confidence in, obviously, you need to look and find out more information when you need to recognise when you need to do that, but you also need to recognise when you do know something.
I think it comes probably with time when you get more confident.
Time, practice, confidence, completely.
There's some things we were asked about, so things like warfarin prescribing and INRs. I was not confident with that at all, just
So when I came back from lunch for the afternoon, so we get a 30-minute lunch break. So when I came back from that, I essentially was faced with my jobs list that I'd made in the morning, and then had to try and, work my way through it. And once again, it's very different actually doing it for yourself versus shadowing someone who's gone, that should be done now. We can request that, we can chase that. That's a job that can be done later. That's probably the last thing we'll do this day. So there's a lot of trial and error. And I think on the first day, I was there, I was doing jobs and so on. And then one of the doctors, who's a bit more, I say a bit more senior, obviously this was my first day of work, and he was a lot more senior than me. He came and just helped me prioritise my jobs list, see what I could do, see if there's anything he could help with once he'd gotten through his, and
I think that's quite helpful having someone do that for you, because we didn't really have that. I just had the jobs list that I was working through, and I think I was doing some things that could have waited maybe the next day or a bit later on. I didn't have that sort of prioritization skill, and I think it's something you build and work on over time.
Definitely.
But that meant I probably stayed a bit longer doing things that could have waited the next day.
Yeah, I think that's it, because I have started to learn what I do need to write down on my jobs list. So I used to write down everything. It's you don't need to see that as a job. That in terms of, we are a big team that work together.
Exactly.
So, and I think the prioritization, I think it was up until a couple of weeks, and I had one of the registrars, he'd worked with me in the morning, and then I had my jobs list, and I went to do something, and he was like, do you know what you should be doing first? And I was like, well, no, not really.
Error,
and he kind of just explained to me, so things if things that need to be done there and then, so there's the whole importance and urgency, and if something's not important, not urgent, that falls lower down than something that needs to be requested there and then. So
plus the other thing I learned, I'd say maybe the hard way, was that if the patient's going home that day, that's a priority. So in my head I was like, if someone's going home, they're fine, they're well, I'll deal with everyone else first. But you can sort of deal with people who are sick, or the new patients, and then you can deal with people going home, do their letters. That's a very F1 job, so to doing their TTO, so that's medication they have to take with them to go home, and the letter that will go to their GP telling them what we've done for them, and if we need the GP to do anything else. So that needs to be done maybe a second priority. I left that quite late, and I had patients who were going home, and they were a bit delayed going home, shall we say.
Yeah. I think, never mind just the first day, I think the first month in general is just a big learning curve. But, yeah, I just remember finishing on that first day and it just felt like an absolute relief. Like, and it felt like such an accomplishment, and it was a single day, you know, in the greater scheme of things. That's but true. As Qubekani said earlier, people refer to it as Black Wednesday simply because, you know, it's the big changeover. You have new people starting and so on. But when I was doing my shadowing week, one of the FY2 doctors said that a consultant said to them before they started that, you know, they'd had Black Wednesday when that consultant had first started, and they'd seen 30 since then, and they still were around, and you know, like, it is just, I think it's just nerve-wracking for the foundation year one doctors. But
plus the other trouble is that day all the other doctors change over on the same day, so the doctors on your ward on that day, the number might not reflect all the doctors, because they might be in induction doing different things, or moving between hospitals, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think on our ward that day we had fewer doctors than what we have now, because all the inductions, everything's finished. Yeah. So I think there was a lot more work to do that day than all the other days that followed. I think it's crazy to say that, you know, I've been working as a doctor for a month already. Yeah, I know. And kind of how much I've learned and how much I've kind of, I don't know, grown as a person and as a doctor. It sounds really silly, but it has. It's been quite a big month, and yeah. It's a very steep learning curve, but everyone gets through it. Yeah. And you'll learn and you'll develop as a doctor. Yeah. I think we've enjoyed it. Oh yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Yeah. And I think for anyone that's watching who might be faced with being a doctor in a year, 2 years, or even just thinking about becoming a doctor in general, you know, it's very exciting, it's very rewarding, and I think try not to focus on the transition. Yeah. Because everyone's in the same position, everyone's had to do it before, and just take support and learn from those around you. Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Absolutely. And, you know, a question's only silly if you don't ask it. Yeah. It's my motto. So. Exactly. I mean, that's a very good point, because especially on that first day, the amount of times we had to like bleep one of our doctors who had gone to a different ward and just ask questions. Yeah. Ask as many questions as it's expected. Yeah. Like, it really is. At any point, there's a reason why you train for so many years, even once you're out of medical school. There is a reason for that. So just ask any and every question. Absolutely. So yeah. Because also it's about patient safety, right? So yeah. That patient care is your main concern. Exactly. And that's why you're asking the questions. So yeah, so that's our roundup of kind of our first day and how we felt before it. Yeah. So good luck to anyone who's in the same position, or for anyone who's also had this transition. Do let us know in the comments down below how you found it, how compared to ours. Yeah. You know, some people don't always start on a normal working day. There might be other shifts. We've all started on medicine. Some people start on surgery. We'd always love to know how you guys found it as well. And yeah, any suggestions for any videos or any questions, please let us know, and we'll see you next time for another video. Bye bye for now.